Into the Backrooms. Chapter 10. The Original Level Fun. A Carnival Birthday. The sounds of party music filled my ears as my eyes adjusted to the bright colors everywhere around me. This place is so cheery, I mumbled as I stared at the orange-colored walls, an occasional white table with party hats and red solo cups lying along random walls. I cautiously walked over to the white table nearest to me and poked the red solo cup, seeing if it served any purpose here. It fell over with a subtle tap before rolling off the table and onto the floor. "What's with the music?" I said to myself as the cheery sound of party music and the distant echoes of children's songs in the far distance played. I looked down at the arcade patterns below my feet, the dark blue carpet littered with orange, yellow, and green squiggles strewn about the floor, stretching out to the white trim lining the orange walls. I turned around and scanned the table for materials, only to find plastic cups and party hats strewn about. "What is all this?" I mumbled as I walked over to the far wall. The sounds of cheery music grew louder as I turned the corner and entered another room. The orange walls stretched around, creating a multitude of party rooms and narrow hallways. I glanced at the party table to see a red balloon floating upwards, the thin white string holding it to the foldable chair. I looked around before turning the corner again. The party music instantly cut short, filling the room with silence. I instinctively stopped my breathing as the sounds of shuffling grew louder. A loud, shallow scream reached my ears as the sounds of shuffling grew deafening. I looked around before making eye contact with a faint, beige-colored figure rushing towards me. I yelped and stumbled back as it moved towards me at a rapid pace. It held a red balloon in its hand, and its chilling, lifeless black eyes and cheery smile was the last thing I saw before everything went black. I was dead. My vision slowly cleared as the bright orange walls filled my view for a second time. "Did I die?" I said, shocked at what had just happened. I was still processing the chilling party-goer that had ripped me to pieces before I could even react. Glanced around, looking for any threats before quickly walking over to a new crumpled piece of paper. I took it off the wall and looked at the image on the wrinkled page. "These tables seem useful. Maybe I should hide under them if something chases me." I read aloud, gripping the page in my hands as I stared at the black scribbles making the shape of a person running for a table with one of those party entities right behind them. I shoved the paper in my pocket and quickly walked over to the table. "Do you actually have to hide under these?" I muttered as I counted the 3 chairs surrounding the table. Sure enough, there was an open space with a big gap big enough for me to get under if I crouched quick enough. "No way. I'm not doing that," I said as I turned back to the hallway exiting the room I started in. I quickly walked over and peered around the corner. The party-goer had its back turned, facing the table that I would have to hide under if I had read the paper beforehand. "Okay then," I said to myself as I crouched, slowly sneaking around the party-goer. The red balloon floated on invisible waves as the cheery music played throughout the level. "It's facing the table. What the hell am I supposed to do?" I said as I stared at my only way to survive the entity that just killed me minutes ago. The music stopped, instantly alerting the party-goer of my location. "What?" I cried as I quickly stood up and ran for the table. The party-goer screamed behind me before hitting me from the back. Once again, everything went dark. "What the fuck?" I said as my view of the orange room cleared for a third time. "How the fuck do I survive this? It's rigged," I said as I hurriedly walked back to the hallway. I crouched, praying that the music didn't stop as I analyzed the possible tables I could hide under. The cheery music played constantly as I slowly made my way around the first party-goer. I continued to crouch as I crept my way down the next hallway, instantly spotting another table. "There's more. There's fucking more," I said as the 2 more party-goers facing different walls entered my view. I quickly crouch-waddled over to the table and hid under it as the music stopped seconds after I got under the table. "Yes!" I mumbled as the 2 party-goers looked around before returning to normal again. The music started up again as I made my way out from under the table and around the 2 party-goers. Almost instantly, I was face to face with another party-goer, its lifeless black eyes and mocking, cheery smile filling my view as it ripped my limbs apart before everything faded to black. "It's rigged! It's so fucking rigged! It's so rigged!" I cried as I found myself back in the cheery orange room. I grabbed the piece of paper from my pocket and tore it to shreds. "Just let me out of here, man. Just let me the fuck out of here. I miss my friends and my family. I want to see people again, not these things. I want to go home," I said as I trailed off, letting the shred of paper fall from my hands and spread throughout the room. A single tear rolled down my cheek as I looked over at the iconic white party table. "I don't want to be here anymore," I said sadly as I walked over to the plastic party chair and sat down. I stared at the red Solo cup on the floor in front of me and sniffed, bringing the slow and watery stream of snot back up into my nose. I rested my hand on the table and stood at the door in silence. Why am I even here? Why does something like this exist? It has no purpose anywhere. It ruins lives. It just ruins my life. It took everything from me. My family, my friends, my home. Why can't I just go home? I mumbled as I tapped the paper party hat on the table. It shifted before falling over, rolling for a couple of seconds before coming to a stop. The thin white strap that held the hat on the person's head twisted up before unraveling almost instantly. I smiled softly at the thought of everything I had back home, everything I took for granted. As fast as the smile started, it was gone. I got to my feet, shoving the plastic party chair into the table before walking to the hallway entering the party rooms. I just want to leave. I want my life back. I have to escape this place. It isn't infinite. It can't be. Whatever this place is, it's got an exit. Anything that has an entrance has a way out. I just need to be the one who escapes. The one who finds the exit to my reality. If I give up now, I give up on going home, I said to myself as I stared at the orange-colored walls. Let the words I had just said sit in silence, the only other sounds being the occasional start and stop of the cheery music. I will leave this place. I will go home. I'll never know if I can leave if I don't try. This place forces everything to adapt. I have to adapt. It feeds on people like me. I can't let it win. I can and will go home, I said, my voice growing slightly louder as a new boost of confidence rose. I clenched my fist until my knuckles went white. I knew I could leave. I wanted to leave. I had to find out how. You can do this, I said to myself as I took a step closer to the deadly rooms ahead. I took a deep breath. Crouch, keep calm, listen to your surroundings, be aware, know what lies ahead, I said as I began to enter a crouched position, readying myself to enter the many nightmares that lie in front of me. Just go for it, I said as I crouched and walked as fast as I could into the first room. Cheery party music played loudly, fun and playful tune clashing with the horrors of the level. I stared at the first partygoer, its bright red balloon bobbing on invisible waves as I listened for the music and then made my move. The partygoer remained with its back to the table ahead, its lifeless black eyes and cheery smile staring at the blank wall in front of it. I cut the partygoer in the corner of my view as I made my way to the table. The orange walls seemed to merge as I focused all my senses on the surrounding environment. Only a few feet lay between me and the table when the music stopped, instantly alerting the partygoers of my location. I uncrouched and speedily made my way to the table. The partygoer behind me missed me by sheer seconds as I got beneath the table in the nick of time. The cheery music began playing again as I took a couple of deep breaths. The partygoer went back into its statue-like state, now completely oblivious of my existence. I smiled, the anxiety shooting adrenaline through my bloodstream becoming a lesser problem. Just make it through the rest, I whispered to myself as I slowly made my way out from under the table. Remaining crouched, I made my way to the next hallway. The music varied in volume as it went soft and loud, and then soft, and vice versa. I glanced at the partygoer behind me and made my way to the next hallway. The music rose in volume before coming to a stop. No, not now, I said fearfully as I dismissed the crouching approach and sprinted for the next table. Two partygoers joined the partygoer behind me as they beelined it for the table. I rolled, my body narrowly avoiding the death-inflicting touch as I cupped the side of a chair. I inhaled sharply and then held my breath as the partygoers gave off a loud, chilling sound, loaded with hatred and hunger to kill. My right shoulder throbbed as I held my breath, death standing right in front of me, only a couple of feet away. How do I get rid of them? I hissed to myself as I listened for the music, waiting for it to start back up again. The partygoers went back to their normal positions once more as I walked out from under the table. The music grew louder and began to hurt my ears, causing me to wince. Why is the music getting louder? I thought to myself as I quickly made my way around each partygoer, careful not to let them spot me. The music began to grow deafening, tearing in my ears. I put my hands to my ears and to try and muffle it a bit, but the feeling of warm, fresh blood hit my palms the second I did. Fuck, I said to myself as I darted around a corner into another hallway. The music grew extremely loud, causing me to growl in pain. What the fuck? Fucking stop it! I screamed. The music instantly stopped, alerting all partygoers of my location. Immediately broke into a full sprint down a long, winding corridor lined with orange wallpaper with with kids' show characters occasionally being printed on the wall every few feet. What the fuck? Why does the level keep changing? I cried as the sounds of the partygoers grinding against the floor grew louder. Aghast as a button on a large steel pedestal appeared at the end of the hallway. It's a dead end. The button is all I have, I cried as the cold chill of a partygoer grazed my neck. I stumbled, tripping on my own feet as I reached as far as I could, hoping to fall on the button. With a deafening bang, I hit the button, slamming into the steel pedestal. With a sickening crunch, the entire hallway went bright white. I moaned in pain as I slid to the ground, blood pouring from a gash in my head. Fucking did it. I fucking did it, I whispered as everything went white. Into the Backrooms, Book 1, Chapter 11, Playland. I awoke to the sounds of cheery party music. My face felt broken and sore as I slowly broke away from the scratchy 1960s arcade-style carpet. What? I thought I escaped, I mumbled as my vision slowly cleared. I gasped as my view opened to a massive, colorful playground. The giant, colorful tubes and mesh fabric windows littered the entire house-sized structure. A playground? It's so big, I said to myself, staring at the massive playset in awe. Isn't this level fun? I said to myself as a faint memory of this level reached the back of my mind. I saw this on a computer back on my head. Where did I see this? I said to myself, slowly forgetting what my home was, where I came from. I continued to stare at the massive playgrounds as I got to my feet, looking at the multitude of slides and chutes that filled the massive playset. Sorry? Where are all the partygoers? I said, slightly taken aback by the fact that I knew the name of one of the entities. What's going on? How did I know this stuff? I said as I looked around. The cheery music played from small box speakers that littered the corners of the ceilings and floors. White folding chairs and tables strewn about the large party chamber I was in, the surfaces littered with plastic cups, crumpled napkins, and party hats. What is this place? Why does it feel different? I muttered as I looked around again. Closed, colorful doors of the slightly covered lock spread out across the wall, leading into different party rooms shielded by glossy and clean glass windows. How are the windows so clean anyways? I muttered as I began to walk up to one of the windows. Leave. A barely audible voice called from all around me. I froze, not wanting to look at what was speaking to me with such a chilling aura. I want to, I choked, finally gathering the courage to look behind me. Nothing. There was nothing there. I was still alone. What? I said, fear filling my voice. My heartbeat sped up, the sound of each thump filling my ears. Who's there? I called, my voice slightly echoing through the playground before disappearing into the brightly lit chamber I had completely. Leave. The voice called again, slightly louder this time. I backed against the door, glancing around frantically to see what was calling out to me. Where are you? I cried, fear slowly crushing my soul down like an old printing press. I want to leave, please, where are you? I screamed, my voice bouncing off of the walls before vanishing completely. The echo had changed. Get out! Sorry, I can't scream, it's like 11 o'clock at night, but I had to continue. Get out! The voice screamed. The room appeared to shake as I stumbled back, falling through the unlocked door behind me. My heart pounded in my chest frantically as I scrambled back on all fours. I'm trying, I swear I'm trying, please, I cried, tears quickly falling from my eyes onto the scratchy blue carpet, the colorful squiggly pattern laid unchanged by my salty tears of pure sadness and fear, actually seeming to grow brighter as if it was feeding on my sorrows. I backed all the way against the wall, staring at the playground through the large glass viewing window as I cried to myself, soaking my blood-stained clothes in tears as I pressed myself back against the concrete wall behind me. I just want to leave, please, I whispered solemnly as I stared off into the distance. The gash in my forehead from earlier had begun to scab over, slowing the steady flow of blood that had been soaking my clothes. I want to be let out. I want to leave. Trust me, I whispered to myself as my tears soaked the collar of my shirt. I gently touched the gash on my head and winced, slight pain firing through my skull as I interrupted a small part of the healing process. I looked around, still trying to see who had been talking to me, only to find nothing. I have to get out of here. I can't stay here any longer, I said as I rose to my feet. I walked over to the wall, tempted to crush my skull and just end it. No, that's not how this works, I said as I walked out of the room, holding my hands up in defense, not wanting to kill myself just yet. I have to try first, I mumbled as I exited the party room, closing the door behind me. I looked around before my eyes slowly stopped on the playground. There could be something there, I said to myself. I took a step forward, allowing my eyes to explore the area before entering. A large kiddie pool full of plastic balls laid in one corner, multiple colored slides exiting into it. I glanced up at the maze of tunnels and chutes and spattered a ladder to the ceiling. I knew it! I hissed as I began to run, beelining it for the ladder. The cheery party music began to drive into the front of my mind, causing me to slow down. I actually want to have some fun first, I said confidently as I turned around, facing away from the ladder before running for the ball pit. I watched as the ball pit grew closer, my feet pounding against the soft yet firm carpet as I booked it for the balls. I wanna jump in, I said as I began to lose control of my mind. I laughed, my sanity breaking down. I wanna jump in the ball pit, I screamed as I ran faster, my lungs burning as I ignored my body's signs of distress. The music grew louder as I closed the gap. 15 feet. 12 feet. 9 feet. I love fun! I cackled as I jumped into the air. 3 feet. 2 feet. In. I landed in the ball pit with a loud, plastic-sounding thwack, my legs not hitting the bottom as my head instantly went under. Almost immediately, panic set in. Fuck! I gasped as I sunk deeper. The balls closed in over me as the ball pit began to swallow me whole. I can't breathe, I groaned as I sunk deeper, my throat closing as my lungs became crushed. My chest heaved before closing in, the weight of the plastic balls not allowing me to breathe anymore. I inhaled, bringing the plastic balls over the holes I could breathe through, causing them to suffocate me more. Please, I whispered as my vision faded in and out. I grew lightheaded as my vision filled with colors such as white, blue, yellow, and green. My voice was cut off as the plastic balls choked me slowly, closing around my throat, preventing movement in my head. No. I wheezed as everything faded in and out, my vision slowly becoming completely blurred as my head grew more and more heavy. I groaned as I sunk further, now my mind only being able to function. The smell of plastic filled my nose as I never touched the bottom. My body left to sink in the ball pit forever. I exhaled one last time before everything went black. Segment 2. I woke up to the sounds of cheery party music and a view of the house-side playground in front of me. What happened? I mumbled as I looked around confusedly. My head hurt, a migraine pounding away in my skull as my vision pained me. My arms and legs felt sore, and my thighs kept cramping. How? I muttered as my eyes suddenly fell on the ball pit. The endless pit of plastic balls sat mockingly in front of the playground, seeming to laugh at the fact that it was able to take my life without even trying. The ball pit, I wasn't in control. How? I said as millions of thoughts raced through my head. My eyes darted away from the ball pit and over to the massive slides. The tall yellow and red beams seemed to reach for the sky, being wrapped with a squishy foam exterior to prevent kids from danger when playing under the maze's structures. What was happening before I... My eyes fell on the ladder, an open trapdoor laying on the ceiling. The ladder seemed to be the way up to it. I took a deep breath and scanned the area around the escape hatch. A set of thin metal beams leading to a platform below the ladder seemed to be the only way over it. The maze of mesh windows filled the entire walls below the ceiling part of the playground, appearing to fill tens of hundreds of feet of fabric mesh and boxy chambers. The trapdoor has to be a way out, I said to myself as I continued to look around. My eyes fell on a small train ride in the far right corner of the massive playground chamber, the track winding multiple corners, going up and down before stopping at a little train station near the center of everything. There was no train, and only the twisty winding track showed the train existed here. I Turned about 90 degrees to see a wall of shelves, some holding random items inside. Resources? I said, confidence and hope rising in my chest as I quickly walked over to them. The rows of small plastic cubes went along the wall for about 20 feet, going up about 50 before stopping near the ceiling. Almond water, I muttered as I picked up a small canister that resembled a water bottle. A faded white strip wrapped around the glass bottle with the words almond water scratched into the paper with black pen. I twisted the cap, hesitant to actually drink it before bringing it to my lips. Leave. A distant voice called, sending chills through my entire body. I shivered, gripping the bottle of almond water tightly before chugging it. The cold, refreshing liquid poured down my throat, filling my stomach and making my throat less dry. It melted in a relief as the mysterious liquid calmed my nerves. Oh my God, I said as I finished off the rest of the liquid in the bottle. I looked around, listening for the voices as I scanned the rest of the cubicles while I did so. The voices in my head. After I drank this almond water, they stopped. I mumbled to myself as I placed the empty bottle of almond water back in the cubicle I had found it in. This stuff does something for my sanity or something like that. I don't know. I said as I took a few steps to the right, scanning the shelves for more resources. My eyes landed on a set of 2 batteries, my mind instantly jumping to the conclusion that there was electronic devices in this place. There has to be a flashlight or something somewhere, I said to myself as I put the 2 batteries into my jeans' left pocket, grabbed another bottle of almond water and set it on the ground, slowly starting a pile of resources I could use or would need. I continued scanning the shelves at eye level until I spotted something insanely useful. Holy shit, is this a backpack? I cried as I grabbed the worn-out brown-colored sack out of the cubicle it was in. I lifted the top flap and looked inside to see a flashlight with no batteries, a bottle of almond water, and some stale-looking bread. I gasped as I looked into the I gasped as I reached into the backpack and grabbed the flashlight. I knew it! I cried as I grabbed the batteries out of my pocket. I popped the battery cover off the flashlight and slid the batteries into their proper places. Does it? I pressed the battery cover back into place and flicked the on and off switch. Let's try that again, shall we? Does it? I pressed the battery cover back into place and flicked the on switch off. God, this is a fucking tongue twister. Jesus Christ. Does it? I pressed the battery cover back into place and flicked the on-off switch to on. Fucking finally. Yes! A bright beam of light lit up the cubicles in front of me as the flashlight powered on. I swung the flashlight around, watching the beam of light with my eyes as it lit up darker spaces and dimmer areas. There has to be more, I said to myself as I slid the flashlight into one of the side pockets of the backpack, smiling as it rested snugly in its chosen compartment. I scanned the shelves, even quicker than before, and almost used up rolls of tape. Oh, I skipped. My bad. I scanned the shelves even quicker than before, grabbing items such as batteries, strings, scrap metal, leather scraps, almond water, and almost used up rolls of tape. There's so much stuff! I cried as I filled the backpack with everything I could. A feeling of relief washed over me as the items I had now rested on a sack I could carry with me at all times. It's time to get out of here, I said to myself as I turned away from the cubicles. The cheery party music was now a subtle background noise as I sprinted towards the playground. The voices in my head had stopped, allowing me to avoid things such as being controlled to run to my death. That ladder is my ticket out of here, I said calmly as I slowed my pace, standing at the base of the massive house-sized playset in front of me. The cheery party music drifted to the playground as I took a step into the largest challenge in this new level fun. Into the Backrooms, Book 1, Chapter 12, Inside the Playgrounds. I carefully made my way through one of the many entrances to the playground, entering a maze of box chambers and skinny staircases made up of squishy playground materials that led to hundreds of slides and rooms. I squinted in the darkness as I made my way around squishy foam pillars and obstacles. I passed a short, flat yellow plastic slide and began making my way up a dark yet colorful staircase. It's so dark in here, I said softly as feelings of anxiety rose in my chest, making my breathing more rushed and shallow. I turned left, almost running into the mesh fabric window that blocked the corridor to the left of the staircase before taking a step back. Why so many dead ends? I said nervously as fear began to make its way into the main picture again. Turned right and entered a large cube-shaped room, a wall of squishy blue foam blocking any methods of moving towards in this room. From this room. Man, guys, it is 11 o'clock at night. I'm so sorry. I'm reading the best I can. A small rope ladder leading to a small vent-sized corridor laid on the wall to my left, and a wall of spinnable plastic gears laid on the wall to my right. I guess I'll go left, I mumbled as I began making my way through the dark and over to the small rope ladder. I wrapped my fingers around the thin rope, testing to see if it could handle my weight, before beginning the climb up it. I slung the backpack I found over my right arm and crawled into the small, cramped tunnel. My shoulders were smashed as I shimmied my way through the hole, pushing forwards using my toes as I struggled not to feel claustrophobic. Why is this an option? I said under my breath as I spotted an opening up ahead. I pushed as far as I could, quickly making my way through the small, square-shaped tunnel to the other side. My chest burned as it became harder to breathe, my head growing heavy as a wave of fatigue hit me. Almost there, I said to myself as I pushed forwards again, and again, and again. My legs grew sore as my body dreamed of a breath of fresh air, my lungs craving pure, fresh oxygen. I exhaled lightly before kicking off one last time, pushing me out of the small, cramped tunnel and down a soft, padded fabric staircase. I rolled multiple times before slamming onto the mat below, my breath instantly being knocked out of me. Fuck! Oh my god! I panted as the backpack dug deep into my chest. I moved it away, allowing the new mark in my skin to form. I'm too big for this, I muttered as I tossed the backpack a couple of feet in front of me and stood up. I looked around, only being able to see darkness and a faint outline of the areas around me before I crouched down and opened the backpack again. Flashlight, it's too dark. I grabbed one, right? I said to myself as I blindly felt around inside the bag. My fingers brushed the cold metal handle of the flashlight and I pulled it out of the bag and flicked it on. Yes, I said as I moved the flashlight around, observing my surroundings. Since I had fallen down a stairwell, I was put down one level on the playset, putting me at 8 feet up instead of the goal I needed, which was 40. Where do I go? I asked myself as I shined the flashlight north, then west, then south, and lastly east. Only 2 other paths were visible, the first one being a fabric mesh ramp up, and the second one being a circular tunnel that stretched out into the darkness. Fabric mesh ramp it is, I muttered as I slung my backpack over my shoulder and gripped the flashlight in my right hand. I began making the climb up the hole-filled ramp, my feet constantly slipping through the gaps, and at one point my entire arm did. Fuck this, I mumbled as I reached the top. I'd gained about 5 feet in height, the goal of reaching the top now much, much, much closer. I looked around, shining the flashlight on each wall as I tried to decide where to go next. I'll just go straight. I need to go up, I said angrily as I began to get fed up with the maze of children's play stuff. My eyes darted left, a feeling of fear shooting into my chest as I spotted a set of white, bright eyes staring at me. It only lasted a single second, if anything. No, let me the fuck out of here. I thought there was an end to the entities here. There was no entities here, I said as I scrambled back. I kicked away, darting left to avoid the entity that had now completely disappeared and crawled rapidly up a soft, padded yellow mat to the other floor of the playground. The sounds of silence began to fill my ears as I realized the cheery party music had now vanished completely. How deep am I in this place? I cried as anxiety and panic began to set in. I crawled up another mat before reaching an opening. I gripped my flashlight tightly as I shined it around the dome-shaped chamber. There's no way, I said as my voice and my breath caught in my throat. The chamber was connected to 8 more corridors, each one longer and more mysterious than the last. I ran to the center of the room and looked up to see another rope ladder that was hidden in the darkness. I dropped my flashlight on the ground and jumped up, my fingers grazing the bottom rung of the ladder before I fell back down again. Shit, I just barely touch it when I jump. I looked around, scanning the surrounding area for a box or a stool or something. A feeling of dread set in as I realized I couldn't reach this ladder. I'd be trapped here for way longer than I had intended to be. Nothing, I choked as I grabbed my flashlight from the ground and slid it into my bag, making sure to turn it off so I didn't waste any battery. You know what, just try again, I said to myself as I slung my backpack over my shoulder and looked up at the rope ladder. I gathered confidence before jumping up, my fingers seeming to reach for the sky as I grabbed the rope ladder with one hand, the difference in strength causing me to be ripped from the ladder by gravity and thrown to the ground. My knees buckled under me as I hit the ground with a crunch. My hands burned as my palms grew warm with blood. I cried out in pain, tears filling my eyes as my hands burned with immense pain. I stared at my bloodied palms in the darkness, my breath catching in my throat as I realized reaching the ladder was close to impossible without a stool or something that made it easier to reach it. I need a step ladder or a box, I said, trying to hide the pain that tore into my right palm. I looked around nervously before my eyes landed on a small plush cube, the tiny box-like object having been hidden in the darkness. I slowly got to my feet, trying to ignore the burning pain in my hand as I made my way over to the small plushy cube in the corner. I stopped right in front of it, readjusting the backpack on my back as I picked it up with my left hand. I gripped it tightly, slowly stumbling over to the base of the ladder before setting the cube down. I need to fix my wound, I mumbled softly as I looked around. All I had was the clothes I was wearing for cloth. I hesitated before grabbing a part of my shirt that already had a hole, ripping it off in one long strap. This should make it better. I winced before wrapping the shredded fabric around my right palm, tucking the end piece of the fabric under the makeshift bandage to solidify it just a bit more. I looked up at the ladder just above me, trying to determine whether or not I wanted the ladder again after the injuries it had given me. Just do it. It's the only way, I said softly, my voice calm even through the excruciating pain I was experiencing within. I carefully stepped on the plush cube, causing the ladder to grow much closer. I hesitated before jumping up slightly, grabbing the bottom of the rung with both hands before pulling myself up, my legs dangling over the darkness before I grabbed the second rung. My right palm burned as I slowly climbed the next few rungs, using every bit of my strength and stopping every few minutes to rest and calm myself down. I gasped as I spotted the ceiling of the chamber of the playground I was in, the exit hatch being somewhere just above me. I quickly climbed the rest of the rungs before exiting the dome and climbing onto the roof of the playground. I exhaled, my lungs burning from the large amount of air I had held within them while climbing as I collapsed onto the playground roof. Yes! Oh my God, I'm so close, I whispered as I grew weary and alone. Feelings of fear and sadness filled my body as I looked around me, lying on the squishy padded roof of the dome as I scanned my surrounding area for the exit hatch. My eyes landed on the faint outline of a ladder in the distance, the ladder to my way out. There, I said quietly as I slowly gathered the strength to stand up. My head spun as I slowly stumbled through the darkness towards the escape hatch. I took a slow step forward, not seeing the massive gap before losing my balance. Fuck! I hit the concrete. Fuck, not that. Fuck! I hit the padded beam below my feet with my chest, my body sliding off of it instantly as I fell 9 feet to the ceiling of the platform below. The air was knocked out of me as I stared up into the darkness with immense pain pulsing through my body. No, I groaned as the air around me grew cold. I shivered, my chest heaving slowly. I was so exhausted. I need to get back to that ladder, I whispered as my vision began to go in and out. I groaned in pain as my vision faded out fully once. Why now? I said quietly as my vision wavered once more. My head pounded as my eyes fell on a set of white eyes staring at me from above. The creature was completely covered by the darkness, causing the last thing I saw to be a set of white eyes watching me as I fell out of reality once more. As a 12-chapter checkpoint, the next level is not only not real in the Backrooms fandom, but I also just want to say that I'm trying my best with this, and I am reading out loud instead of using AI, and I hope you all understand. The storyline will continue every single day until I run out of oxygen and run out of chapters. So keep watching, and leave a comment, a like, and consider subscribing for a cookie. I'll see you guys in the next chapter. Goodbye. Well, this will be a whole completion, so not goodbye, but you'll find the next chapter in like 10 seconds.